So there we are. Kerry, welcome. All right. So Kerry and I were just talking to everybody about, I'll introduce her in a second, about ADD, ADHD, which I am fully all in on that because that's me. That's my life. Unfortunately, it's kind of genetic. So I got a bunch of kids that got to help with that too. So here's the thing. Kerry has a master's in special education. She also has taken her knowledge base and her history of teaching a bunch of ADD, ADH middle school kids, which is basically me, and and turn that into a consulting, coaching type structure type business. And that's what we're here to talk about is her expertise in the ADHD, ADD world, which most of us in this community have. If we haven't even been diagnosed with it, the trend, the statistics behind being an entrepreneur and having those certain qualities in your life are just kind of hard to miss. So Kerry's here to help us with the mental clutter and just the overwhelm and all the stuff that we deal with as entrepreneurs. If you're ADHD or not, still. Kerry, thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you, Chris, for having me.
This is really fun. Okay, so welcome everybody. Hey guys, I'm going to pull up Facebook so I can actually see your names and say hey. But welcome everybody, and let's do this. So we are talking ADHD, ADD, and the overwhelm and the clutter. So as someone with ADD and ADHD, the clutter in my studio right now, I have this. What's up, Cian? Good morning. I have this very simple background behind me, and my entire studio is wrapped that way. But right now in front of me on my desk, this is going to be embarrassing. I have stuff for this year's tax planning. I have a plush toy, somehow just wandered in here. I have enormous amounts of camera gear and crap, water bottles, the mayhem, even a pair of socks.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Okay.
That's classic.
It's a classic ADD, right? I'm so ADHD, I think is technically what it is for me. And I had to go for a run this morning, like I do almost every morning, purely to get myself in the zone. And medication's been tough for me. I'm just being real here, folks, right? You've probably done this. Anybody who's got questions, feel free to fire them away. For me, a lot of the medications just kind of messed with that way because I didn't get diagnosed until I was an adult, right? But as an entrepreneur, like many of us, we are ADD, ADHD. And so if you're not medicating, you're doing something, a pot of coffee a day, something like that, stimulants that really help you focus. I take caffeine pills. Literally, I take, this is, I literally, it's just tea and coffee extract, basically.
My son has those.
I take
that same bottle. Yeah.
Probably 10 a day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, somebody needs to call 911 real quick.
Well, that's just coming from me. I've had heart surgery. So for me, caffeine is like, kryptonite. So it's probably perfectly fine for you.
Oh yeah, Cian says she's in Post-it Note City over there. Yeah, right. So it's becoming a theme, right? Same. My desk is always clutter. Socks is becoming a theme. Oh yeah, it is. I talked about socks last week. Sorry, Kerry. It's totally a theme. Okay. Anyway, Kerry, your job is to fix this, right? We can't fix being ADD, ADHD. That's who we are. And honestly, guys, a lot of us are freaking awesomest superpower ever. I love this. Okay.
I'm going to use the word superpower.
I love it.
It truly can be. Yes.
Just figure it out. Figure out how to tune it, how to focus it, how to get stuff done. So, Kerry.
Yes.
Where do we start? Like, I'm the guy with the unorganized brain. So you go next.
Okay. Thanks. So basically when I work with clients, so most of my clients, we're working on their office or their workspace, whether that's home or a real office, whatever it is. But as you mentioned, it is tied to your mental clutter. So I look at the whole person, the external and the internal is how I phrase it. But basically I start with, what have you tried before? What works, what doesn't work? Because most people with ADD, they have some systems that are amazing for them. They just don't realize it, or people have told them, no, that's not how you do that. That's not how you keep a calendar. That's not how you do this, XYZ. And so they're trying to fit into other people's ideas of what productivity looks like or what time management looks like. And I think that you have to work with your strengths. So that's where I start, is like, what are you using now? What do you like? What do you don't what isn't working, and we go from
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, what's up, Jordan? Yes, I wanna just spring on that real quick.
Mhm.
List, and more list. I know. Oh my gosh, yes, we're all so here. Hey, Jordan, great to see you, man. We're all so here. This is so the way it really is. I'm
Can
just
I
pulling up
say
my
something real quick, just because
yeah.
I'll forget? It doesn't show the name of the person that wrote list and more lists. Just
Noel,
super
that's
quick.
Noel.
Oh,
Noel, I can see it on
Noel.
my
Okay.
phone here. Yeah, Noel Samuel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Noel, just make sure that all your lists, like I'm a list person, and I'm also addicted to notebooks, like pretty notebooks. So just make sure you have one. Like this is my one right now. So that way, even if I don't remember, like it's in there. So if you
Mhm.
only have one, that's a huge thing for so many people, is
Yeah.
to just keep it in one place. Yeah.
And you're right, Noel. Time blocking as well.
Time
That's
blocking. Yes.
super. Yeah.
Love time blocking.
So keep going, but let me just highlight one thing you just said that was meaningful to me. You just said don't try to do someone else's system or be someone else if it's not right for you. Like I've read so many organization books, time books, life management books. Basically, I see the pattern, me just trying
Yeah.
desperately to grab onto anything that'll help me get organized.
I joke that a majority of my clients are David Allen dropouts because they want that and they go to that type of like very structured system, but it doesn't always work for them.
Mhm. So how do we create like a system? We've read all the books, all of us have.
Mhm.
We've listened to the podcast. We're constantly looking at people who do life hacks of all sorts, just thinking they have something we don't have and we don't fit. Kids, just
It's
this
it's
is
simplicity.
yeah.
It's simplicity, really. I mean, we all need one way to keep track of our contacts. We all need one way to keep track of our appointments. We all need one place to put our incoming, paper and mail. We
Mhm.
all need, one system for each part of our business. And I think people bounce around and they try something and it doesn't work. And so they have like half their information here and half their information here. And so I encourage people, you just like pick one, try it, 90 days. If it doesn't work, then completely switch to another one, but don't bounce. It's simplicity. And I talk about like 6 things you need in your office, and just how to I always say don't look at email, don't read your mail, whether it's paper or email. You have to process it. And a lot of times for people with ADD, that's setting very specific times. It's turning off all the notifications unless your job requires you to be that person that answers everybody immediately. It's like narrowing down. Simplicity is the key.
Sorry, I just sneezed there.
That's good.
Did I mute it in time? I
Yeah.
sneezed. I don't have COVID.
Look, he's leaving already.
I'm gone. So the simplicity is key. I'm hearing that. When you said email and calendaring, that kind of stuff, when I hired a VA and handed off all that, I know we all think somebody can't handle our emails and it's blah blah, but they can. When I handed off that communication and the I want to say literally thousands of decisions we make when we check our inbox for just 15 or 20 minutes, thousands of decisions. Do I open this mail? Do I not? What do I do with it once I get it in there? Who do I forward it to? How do I write this sentence? What phraseology should I use? Should I put an emoji or not? All those little things are little micro decisions that really mess with our brains and clutter things up.
Yes.
Simple things like that, just handing off those really super detailed tasks has really helped me.
Well, then you can stay in your zone of genius. You can do
Exactly.
what you're meant to do. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's actually one of the definitions of clutter that I use. My favorite definition came from my mentor, Barbara Hemphill, that clutter is postponed decisions. And we could talk about that all day. And I actually talked about that in my TED talk. But there's another definition for clutter
That's
that I
right, Jerry. You've done a TED talk.
I do.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. Is it like
Yeah.
Clubhouse? Can you get me an invitation to TED?
Kind of. We'll talk
Really?
later. I know some people. No.
You know
um,
TED?
no, I don't know Ted. I don't know anyone in New York, but I know some TEDx people. I lost my train of thought now. See?
Come on. This is your job. You're supposed to keep me on track.
The other definition of clutter. And so actually that word clutter, like Entomology comes from the word clot, and it's true. Clutter is anything that clogs up your life.
Mm.
So it doesn't have to be your garage that you can't pull your car into. It can be your email, because it's so many micro decisions, as you said, because it's clogging up your day. It's clogging up your business. It's like you've got a bottleneck and it's not going any further. So clutter is anything that clogs you up and stops you from living the life that you want to lead and that you're meant to lead. And so you did a perfect thing there by handing that up. That was a perfect strategy.
So when you help people like virtually, so you're going to reach out to someone virtually and help them. You can't see their office. You don't know what kind of clutter's hanging around. But where do you start with someone when you first sit down with them and say, okay, you're feeling overwhelmed, you got a lot going on, you want to get stuff done, you're a high achiever, but you just, oh my gosh, how do you start helping them untangle?
Well, I always start with asking people to state their vision, because you learn almost everything you need to know with asking that one question. Like, what do you want to work? Where do you want to be? Because then they'll start telling you, what's going on. Then we look at what is like obstacles, what stop, like maybe they have a tiny, tiny office. Maybe they have, no time, no money, whatever the obstacles are. Then we look at what they can use, and then we make a plan. So I always start with information when we're making the plan for people, whether that's a ton of paper clutter or a ton of digital clutter. Clearing that first seems to be the most effective. Now, if someone has a really pressing issue, of course, I'm going to start with that first. If they're like, help, I have no idea, don't know where to start, I start with the information management, both paper and digital. It's amazing what you can do virtually. Well, first of all, people do what you do, and they show you, they'll get on FaceTime, or they'll say, well, look at this, and I can screen share and see the digital stuff, which is amazing. I love being able to do that. So we start with that, and I teach how to get rid of that amazing, backlog of paper and stuff. And then I teach what to do to make it, like, from today, what to do to make it not back up again. And so there's another saying that I love, that today's mail is tomorrow's pile. So yes, you want to get organized and you want to fix your clutter issue, but you have to, while you're doing that, literally start with today. And so I teach the processes for like what to do with paper when it comes in, and what to do with information.
That's really, really good. Just the hardcore, like, step-by-step stuff that I have to follow every day, the systems, keeping a simple system that I can check off 1, 2, 3 things a day, like, saves me so much heartache every day. Heartache is all I know to call it. It's not just mental overwhelm. It eats away at me. It's exhausting,
And you think it has to be like this fancy system, right?
Yeah, thanks, Noel. That's a good quote, by the way. Yeah, I'm glad you highlighted that one, Noel.
Yes, thank you. So you think it has to be this fancy system, but honestly, for paper, it's this simple. And I just had what I call a productivity party on Saturday, where I think we had 12 people join this time, where they actually I taught a little bit, and then they spent 3 hours going through their paper, and they cleaned out boxes and boxes of paper, because it's not that hard. There's only 3 decisions that you can make. So let's say, and when I say paper, you can apply this same concept to digital. So if it's email or whatever, but I'll say paper to make it simple. So let's say you have boxes and boxes of paper, and you don't want to just burn it because you think there's important things in there, and there probably are. On Saturday, someone found their husband's birth certificate. Someone found about $600 worth of checks that were still good. Someone found gift cards. You really don't want to just burn the boxes, even though you're tempted. So I have people just make 3 simple decisions for a quick sort, and that is file, act, or toss.
File, ask, or toss?
Like to do, ACT. Okay. File, act, or toss. And really, that's the only 3 decisions that you need to make. Yes, then you have to figure out the filing system and things like that. But basically, file So let's say you have a stack of paper. I have a little stack. I'll pick this up. So let's say you have a stack of paper. You look at the first, piece of paper and you ask yourself those questions. So file things are the things that you want to keep, but you don't need to do anything with. So it's like medical records, your birth certificate, insurance papers, things like that. Some people keep those digitally. Some people keep those in a safe, a fireproof safe, whatever it is. But that's the bottom line. File is stuff that you want to keep, but you don't need to do anything with. Act are your to-dos. So you have, I need to pay this. I need to call this person. I need to fill this out and mail it back. Whatever it is, that's act. So you've got file, act, and then the best category of all, toss, because most of what we have saved and accumulated, we can toss. It's too old. It's out of date. We have another copy of it somewhere, whatever it is. So if people are overwhelmed with paper, they let it grow because they think, I can't possibly get a handle on this. And same thing with like downloads on your computer. You can do the same thought process. But in 3 hours on Saturday, those people went through boxes and boxes and boxes. And so that's just one example of one thing, making it simple. Make those three choices, do it.
Yeah, what a cool way to spend a Saturday. Like that's a really cool virtual event. I would have never thought of that being a virtual thing that's brilliant.
And it was actually fun. It's actually fun. I do it a few times a year. I'm starting to do it more and more because more and more people are asking.
A digital professional organizer. That's really fun. A virtual professional organizer. Yeah. Noelle says in interior design, that's Noelle, right? Yeah. Keep, throw, donate.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes. Yeah. And donate would be part of the toss. Like, then some people have actual trash, your shred, your recycle, your donate.
Yeah.
You can break it down a little further, but bottom line is there's only those three true choices that you can make.
All right. Can you talk about it's Monday. We're coming in, our brains are kind of cluttered. We know we have stuff to do today. Let's say we have to prospect because we should be prospecting every day. Mm-hmm. And we have some sales calls and then we have some getting it done, right? We got to talk to that client, get that project done. Like we actually got to get the work done. So we got some prospecting, sales calls, and then just getting the stuff done. How do we start doing that? But first, let's see.
I see questions.
Yeah. Do you have a system for organizing files on a computer? And then, let's go for Cian's answer right there.
Yeah. So Cian, there's a couple of answers to that. One, you have to decide on your naming conventions. And if you're not familiar with what that means, it's basically how am I going to name the things that I save? Am I going to save them by, last name, first name of my clients? Am I going to save it by date? So you need to decide that first. Very often in companies that's decided for you, but for your personal computer, you need to decide that. And then you do it, think of it as making folders like you would for a file cabinet. And you can, group things, like things together and make folders and keep as many things in folders as you can. Now, there's different things. I mean, I have Dropbox. I also have some things in OneDrive that I share with my son. So that gets a little deeper as far as backing up to the cloud and things like that. But basically, those are the two simple answers. Decide how you're going to name them. We all have those downloads that are like 32 letters and numbers. You're like, what is that? And then you waste time because you have to open everything to look. So definitely decide what you're going to name it and then group it into folders just the same way you would in a filing cabinet. That's easiest answer. We can.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Great answer. Noelle says that that helps them block on. Yeah, the Saturday thing, how powerful you give people a time and space. Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Your Saturday thing. That's a great idea. Okay, so
what was your question again?
Yeah, we got a busy day coming up.
Oh, like you come into your day and what do I do with my day?
Oh, by the way, Cian says I save files and then can't find them. Yeah, right? I know, Cian.
Well, it depends on what type of computer you're using, but almost everything is searchable now. So if you come up with your name, then it doesn't matter where you put it because you can search it later. That's what's hard when you have that jumble of letters and numbers because you never named whatever your download was. But if you name it, then you can search later. But to answer your question, so you come in, I love whoever said the time blocking. Time blocking is very, very helpful. Basically, what that is you have certain times of your day where that's all you do. Multitasking is a myth. We're not multitasking. We're stopping and starting and stopping and starting tasks. We're not really doing two at the same time. And so all that stop, start, start, start. I mean, if you add that up over the course of a day and a week, think of the time that you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you focus, for a lot of people, that means turning off everything that dings and buzzes and vibrates and whatever. And if I need to write a blog post, or if I need to anything that's really writing, like you were saying earlier, like compose an email or sales page, heaven forbid, whatever it is, writing, I must put my phone in the other room.
Huh.
And I own that now. It's just, it is what it is. But yeah, so that's really helpful. But basically deciding which times you're going to do certain things. And some people that's easier than others. Some people can say every Wednesday afternoon I do this. Some people, the nature of their business, they're putting out more fires. And so it's very important to know going into each day, what are your non-negotiables? Like, and not have too many of them. A lot of experts suggest three, like, three main things for the day, your three bigger things for the week, et cetera. But you have to know what your non-negotiables are. Like, I cannot go to bed tonight until these things are done. And if you think of it that way, you'll be more likely to carve out the time for them.
I love that. Yeah, I do the same thing. I'm a three max kind of person, 3 per day. I try to stick to one. Some days are complicated and you got multiple things going on, but I try to stick to one and I try to get it done first thing of the day. And if I don't have someone on my
have
team,
to work with your peak time. I'm
yeah.
a first thing in the day person. I've even been known to go to bed early because my brain is fried and set my alarm for like 4:30, because then it's quiet. I have my coffee and I can actually, it's easier. Other people would just gasp and think that's horrific. I'm a 8 to 10 p.m. thinker, but you need to work with your body.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's another good reminder not to do it like somebody else does it. What's your peak time? Are you a night person or a morning person? Sometimes, I don't know if this makes sense or not, but sometimes on Wednesdays and Fridays, I typically take off. Mm-hmm. And when I need to do a little work on one of those 2 days, I will go to a coffee shop or sit in a park or an abandoned front porch at a restaurant here in town that's not serving food from their restaurant, just sit in their chair. Yeah. Just to like have some external stimuli going on, some wind, some noise, some traffic.
Exactly. I did, well, this was, pre-COVID. My friend has a lot of conditions, but pre-COVID, I would go to a friend's house once a week and we would both work at her table because it felt fun, and yet you're actually being held accountable to get that work done, but it's just a different environment and different. So I completely understand that.
Yeah, that's a great point. By the way, pro tip here on going live in your Facebook group, folks. If you have your own Facebook group, having a guest on like Kerry makes you get up on a Monday morning and turn your camera on. It's true. Accountability. Yes. It's a little co-working,
Yes, exactly. It made me get up and get dressed too.
I know, right? Okay, I got to be on time. Yep. All right, Kerry. Anybody got any questions? We'll hang out for another couple minutes. I don't want to make sure I miss anybody. But Kerry, what you're doing and how you're doing it is really cool, because you're not just saying, I'm going to help you get organized. You're like really going after the root of the thing. Hey, let's call this what it is. We have stuff that's distracting us. We're wired for distraction, and our world is not making that easier. And you're like really building for real processes around that. Do you how do people engage with that with you? If they really need help with this, like somebody like me, how do we reach out?
How would you find me, you mean?
Yeah, I tagged your name at the top of this post, but is that the best way on Facebook, or you got a better way to do it?
Facebook is good. I have a Facebook group that is, out of all the places where I show up in the world, that's where I am most active for sure. I do guests like this and things like that in my Facebook group. People can find that. It's called Less Clutter, More Peace. Okay. And That is, I have a business page, but my business page has always been very cut and dry. This is how you organize your office. This is how you, and in my group, we talk about the mental stuff and even the emotional stuff, as well as practical tips. But the overall, I do have a website. It's CTC, which stands for Conquer the Chaos, my company, ctcorganizing.com. And on there, it has there's a button in the top right if people want to book a free call with me. There's the link to my Facebook group. There's a quiz on the bottom right-hand side. You can see your productivity score. You can take a quiz that adds it up and send you your results. So my website is probably like the one-stop shop.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just actually went to the website earlier this morning, and I was going to the quiz right before we jumped on because it looked really great.
Yeah, it's short. It's 15 questions, and you get your score back. It tells you like how urgent, like I get help right away, or you're good. Mm-hmm. It'll actually give you a score. Yeah.
Nice. I'll drop those. Oh, by the way, Franklin, great to see you, man. Welcome. So good to see you. So I'll drop your website and Facebook group here in the post. Your name's tagged at the top just because I want people to be able to reach out. This is a real thing. ADD, ADHD folks, most of us in this group have it. That's part of the reason you became an entrepreneur. Because
80%. Yeah. 80% of entrepreneurs is the prevailing thought of how many.
I am the worst employee ever. Mm-hmm. That's part of just the way we're wired. Yes. And it's okay. Lean in on that. I mean, freaking be a superhuman and use that strength that you've got that makes you not like everybody else, but makes you uniquely gifted that other people wish they had that. They see what you do, they wish they had it. But from our side, we see the normal out there and we wish we had that, but we got to embrace who we are and figure it out, crack your code and get it done.
Exactly. And what I love is so many people with ADD or ADHD, when they do dive deep, they become experts. And I have learned so much from my clients because even if they think, oh, I can't handle my calendar and I'm always forgetting appointments, whatever it is that they call me for, they're always experts in something. I mean, I learned Canva from a client that knew all the tricks and she could like whip out stuff. So yes, you said it earlier, it's a superpower. Don't be afraid to reach out in those one or two areas where you need help because the rest of it, just embrace it.
Absolutely. Kerry, thanks for hanging out on a Monday.
Yes, thank you.
I really appreciate it. All right, kids, we're out of here. Kerry and I are going to go work on our 2 or 3 priorities and like you should be. Kerry, thanks again. I'll drop your links down here once we wrap this call up. And you're the best. I really appreciate your time, your expertise, and the way you've put this into real life.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Have a great week.